Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. Translation: After many births, mature yogis, by complete trance in yoga, endeavor in secluded places to see the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport: Some important things are mentioned here about yoga. The word Bahu Janma Vipakvena means after many births of mature yoga practice. And another word, Samyag Yoga Samadhina, means by complete practice of the yoga system. Complete practice of yoga means Bhakti Yoga. Unless one comes to the point of Bhakti Yoga or surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's yoga practice is not complete. This same point is corroborated in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, after many births. The Jnani, who has matured in transcendental knowledge, surrenders onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kadamba Muni repeats the same statement. After many years and many births of complete practice of yoga, one can see the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord in a secluded place. It is not that after one practices some sitting postures, he immediately becomes perfect. One has to perform yoga a long time, many births, to become mature, and a yogi has to practice in a secluded place. One cannot practice yoga in a city or in a public park and declare that he has become God simply by some exchange of dollars. This is all bogus propaganda. Those who are actually yogis practice in a secluded place, and after many births, they become successful, provided they surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is completion of yoga. After many births, mature yogis, by complete trance in yoga, endeavor in secluded places to see the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Jnanatimidandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guru Shri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swami Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapad Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadhuetam Savadutam Parijana Sangitam Krishna Chaitanya Devi Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Dalita Shri Vishakha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Parikule Vanchakalpatarvya Pasancha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Jai Srila Prabhupada Ji ki Jai, Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. So here we are discussing Shri Kardamba Muni Ji Kardamba Muni Ji he has learned from the lotus mouth of Lord Brahmaji that in the womb of his wife Devahuti, Lord Kapildev has appeared. And then Lord Brahmaji comes to the house of Kardamba Muni with many other sages, and Kardamba Muni offered his 9 daughters to the 9 sons of Lord Brahmaji, the most exalted sages and sons of Brahmaji. And then Brahmaji left, and then Kardamba Muniji finds that Lord Kapildev has appeared, and Kardamba Muniji's go to the secluded place to have darshan of Kapildev, and then starts glorifying. So this is the practice of the devotee. When he sees the Lord, he glorifies. Generally, we say, pray to the Lord for whatever you need, whatever you desire, whatever your wish list is, pray to the Lord. So yes, prayers constitute that also. But also prayers begin with glorifying. It's called stuti. Stuti is more glorification of the Lord, greatness of the Lord, his compassion to the devotees and the general masses of people. So in that stuti mood, Kardama Muni's, in the last verse, he expressed glorifying Kapila Muni, Kapil Dev, that demigods are also very pleased by your presence, because your presence is all auspicious. It will give solace to so many suffering souls. By your presence, all the suffering souls will feel solace. And now in this verse, continuation of the last verse, Shri Kardama Muniji is glorifying the Lord, saying how difficult it is for the yogis to have darshan of your lotus feet. And here you are, you're so kind that you have appeared in my home. But yogis, Kardama Muni is, in one sense, is pointing to himself, because he's very advanced devotee, yogi of the Lord. So he's saying, after many, many births, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadete, Vasudev, those who surrender to Vasudev after many, many births, they receive the mercy of the Lord. The Jnani, the yogis, the siddhas, and obviously the bhaktas. So these 3 words I was thinking we can focus in this verse. One is Bahu Janma, second is Vipakavena, and third is the Shunya Gareshu. Bahu Janma, after many, many births. In Bhagavad Gita it says after many, many births. Here Kardama Muni is also using the same. After many, many births, yogi, mature yogi, Vipakavena, Pakavena. Pakavena means who's paka, who becomes very mature. So not only after many, many births, but he also becomes very mature. And how he becomes mature, he goes into full samadhi, Samyak Yoga Samadhina, where Shunya Gareshu, he goes to the secluded place. In secluded place, he goes and worship the Lord in samadhi, in a mature state, Vipakavena, and then after many births, that yogi receives the mercy of the Lord, darshan of the Lord, darshan of the lotus feet of the Lord. Drushtam, he sees, what he sees, Jat Padam, the lotus feet of the Lord. That means darshan. So this is the, but Srila Prabhupada, knowing the conditions of the Kali Yuga, Srila Prabhupada here translates that this complete practice of yoga, the word Samyak Yoga Samadhina, means Bhakti Yoga. Not this Ashtanga Yoga process that Kadamba Muni is mentioning in the beginning of the creation. This yoga practice, what Kadamba Muni is mentioning, is coming to Bhakti Yoga, but through the process of Ashtanga Yoga, which is almost impractical in this Kali Yuga. There is no secluded place. Shunya, Gareshu, go to the secluded place. There is no shunya. And here, so this Bhakti Yoga, I'll share one verse from Kunti Maharani's prayer. What this Bhakti Yoga is. Kunti Maharani's praise, in those 25 verses of Kunti Maharani's prayer, verse number 36 from Canto 1, she says, this is the Bhakti Yoga. Shivnanti Gayanti Grananti Abhikshanash Smaranti Nandanti Tevhitam Janaha Ta Eva Pashyanti Achir Nena Tavakam. So here Kunti Maharani says, Achirena means very quickly, not Bahunam Janamanamante, not after many, many births. She says Achirena. Srila Prabhupada translates this word Achirena, very soon. So Srimati Kunti Maharani, the most exalted devotee of the Lord, she says, those who perform Bhakti Yoga, Shrivananti Gayanti, who hears Krishna Katha, who chant, who repeats Krishna Katha, Gayanti, and who take great pleasure, Grananti Abhikshanash. Pleasure is Nandanti, and who remembers. And they take great pleasure when other people, Dev Hitam Jana, when other people also do Shravananti, Gayanti, Grananti, and Smaranti. Those devotees, those bhaktas, for them, that Pad Ambujam, same here, what Kadamba is mentioning, the darshan of the lotus feet of the Lord, Pad Ambujam, the lotus feet of the Lord becomes accessible to this bhakta achirena, very quickly, very soon. Very soon. Not Bahunam. Here the verse was Bahu Janma Vipekvena. Because in Kali Yuga, it's very difficult to feel. It's very discouraging because life is very short. It's very discouraging to feel that I have to take many births to actually get a darshan of the lotus feet of the Lord. So the practice of Bhakti Yoga, according to Kunti Maharani, will enable devotees to have darshan of the Lord very soon. So that's one point we mentioned. Second point, this maturity that the Mamani is mentioning, the yogi becomes mature. Vipakvena. So this maturity now in the Ashtanga Yoga process, obviously the 8 limbs, and going through the 8 limbs very sincerely, Yama, Nema, the whole process up to Samadhi, Dharana Samadhi, that makes the yogi mature. But in Bhakti Yoga, in the life of all of us who are on the path of Bhakti Yoga, we are sadhakas, what is this maturity? I was thinking this last night. What is this maturity? So I found these verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, some of you were connected on that call on Shikshashtakam verses. According to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this maturity is this Trinadapi Sunichena, Turaravi Sahishuna, Manina, Manadena, Kirtaniya Hari. So when devotee chants in this mood, Pranadapi Sunichena, Toraravi Sahishana, more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is chanting those verses, here are some verses in that line. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains, this is when, after he chants Trinadapi Sunichena, then he says, ye magya tare diya apna dhan, garam vrishti sahe aner kareya rakshana. I think there may be verse before that. Let me see. This verse is there. And then Uttam Hona. Yeah, that verse is there. So 21 is Trinadapi Sunichena. You all know the verse. So let's see 22 and few more verses after Trinadapi Sunichena. Here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions personally. He says, Uttam Hona apane ke mane trina adhama dui prakare sahishunat kare vriksha sama. These are symptoms of one who chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The symptoms is the last verse, Trinadapi Sunichena. Although he is very exalted, Uttam Han apne ke. So Vaishnav may be very exalted, Mane Trina Adhama, but he consider himself, Mane means consider himself, he thinks himself lower than the grass in the ground. Trina Adhama. And then Dui Prakare Sahi Shunata. Kare Vrikshasam. And like a tree, he tolerates everything in 2 ways. Dui Prakare means 2 ways. In 2 ways, he, like a tree also tolerate everything in 2 ways. What are those 2 ways? The name of who mentions. This is the sign of maturity. The tree, how tree manages, tree tolerates 2 ways. One is Vriksha jena katilehe kichu na boliya. Sukana maile kare pani na magiya. When tree is cut down, it does not protest. Vriksha jena katila. Katila means cut. Vriks is getting cut. Kichu na boliya. He does not say anything. So when we are bombarded with disrespect, humiliation, on the family level, on the devotee level, kuchi na boliya, many times we don't have to say anything. Sukhna mailya kare, pani na magiya. When tree is drying up, sukhna means drying. When it's drying up, it does not ask anyone for water. Kare, pani na magiya. He does not ask for pani. So these are the two ways. This is one. Next verse is even more beautiful. Here says, ye magiya tare diya apna dhan. Gharam vrishti sahe aner kariya rakshana. The tree delivers its fruits. Ye mangya, whoever needs whatever. Tare diya apna dhan. He gives everything what he has. What tree has? He has fruits. He has flowers. He has wood. He has shade. So he is ready to give everything, apna dhan, whoever needs anything. Gram vrishti. He is ready to take the heat of the sun, scorching heat of the sun. Vrishti means he's ready to take the thunderstorm, rain on himself. Anir kariya rakshana. But he's helping other people. He's giving protection to others who requires protection. So when he's cut, he's tolerating. When he's thirsty, he's tolerating. But at the same time, it's not that he's tolerating and he's not doing anything. He's very active. And how he's active, how devotee is active, what makes him mature, that he is ready to take all kind of disrespect, insult, humiliation, and still serve with his mind, body, and words. This is serving. Just like trees serving, Jai Magiya Tare Diya Apna Dhan. He's ready to give everything he has. He's not sitting on the sideline. He's not sitting in the back benches. He's trying to give everything he has, even though he's tolerating everything. That's the sign of a maturity. So we come back to this verse. Bahu Janma Vipakvena. So for Bhakti Yogi, that's the maturity. And then the third word we will speak a little bit, Shunya Gareshu. So this yogi, Kadamaman is mentioning, he goes to a secluded place. Now in this Kali Yoga, what is the secluded place? Where is the secluded place? The forests are not secluded. Your parks are not secluded. Your green pathways that township creates for you for long walks, they're not secluded. Nothing is excluded. Neither New York City is excluded, neither New Jersey is excluded, neither Pennsylvania is excluded. It's very difficult to find a secluded path. And mind is so disturbed anyway. Even if you find some mountain, your mind will disturb you. So your phone will disturb you. Your phone calls will disturb you. So for Bhakti Yogi, here is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions, again in the same Ante Leela, he says, Khaite shuite jatha tatha naam laye, kal desha nima nahi sarva siddhi hoy. Khaite while you're eating, shuyate while you're sleeping, jatha tatha, however, whatever way you can, naam liya, chant the holy name of the Lord. Kal deshe nima nahi. There is no rules and regulation of Kal and Desh, time and place. Sarva Siddhi Hoye, you will receive perfection. You will have darshan of the lotus feet of the Lord if you chant the holy names of the Lord. Now, that does not mean, because we see here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told his prime disciples 6 Goswamis to go to Vrindavan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. In this Santa Leela, we find him in Gambhira for 12 years, remembering Krishna 24 hours a day. That does not mean Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just saying that Khaite Shuite, and then we don't endeavor to chant the holy names with concentration, with focus. We must try to chant the holy names with concentration, with meditation, by putting other things on the side. We see sometimes devotees come for, kirtan program at a home, in the temple, and then we see sometimes they're chanting on their beads while kirtan is going on. We see while they're chanting, while they're sitting in the class hearing Krishna Katha. It makes it difficult when you do those 2, 3, 4 things at the same time. You're neither chanting the holy names or you're neither hearing the class properly. So for us, for Bhakti Yogi, yes, Khaite Shuite, we must chant, we must hear, but also some specific times, especially for Japa and Kirtan, for Katha, that's exclusion. That itself is exclusion. Instead of going to the forest and finding mountains and caves, for us, finding mountain and caves is at least to create some physical and mental boundaries around ourselves. Okay, I'm chanting now, next half an hour, 4 rounds, 6 rounds, 8 rounds. I will not pick up my phone. I will not turn on any kirtan. I will be there 100%. So that itself is exclusion. So that kind of exclusion is recommended for Bhakti Yogi, what Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here. Complete practice of yoga means Bhakti Yoga. And in that Bhakti Yoga, performing that Bhakti Yoga for today's age, where we all are living now at homes, with the family, with working environment, that Bhakti Yoga will enable us to have darshan of the lotus feet of the Lord. Drishtam Jat Padam, by creating that seclusion around us, the boundaries. And that's what Kudamamani is mentioning, by glorifying Lord Kapila Dev in this particular verse. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vaishnav ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Dekan Babu.
Hare Krishna.
We'd like to thank and wish everybody a safe and Krishna conscious day ahead. And we'd like to offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare. Hare Rama, Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama Hare
Rama
Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare.
Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare
Rama, Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama Hare Hare.
Hare.
Shina Singha
Jai Jai Narasimha, Prahlad Jai Padmamukha Padmabriham.
Padmalingam, Ugraveeram
Ugraveeram Mahavishnu Jalantam Sarvatomukham. Narasimha Bhishanam Bhadram Namamaham.
Nrsimha Bhagwan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Let's offer our humble obeisances to all the Samar Vaishnavas. Vancha
Panchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhu bhaivacha.
Patitanam Pavane
Vaishnavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo.
ki jai, Granth Bhagavatam ki jai,
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Premanande Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bo. Thank you, Devinanda Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.